Hello and welcome to CVR News Network. You're watching CVR English. Welcome to World 360 with me, Sandeep. President Donald Trump announced a dramatic military strike by U.S. forces on a drug-laden vessel originating from Venezuela. Speaking from the White House, Trump said the boat was shot out while carrying a large quantities of narcotics and declared, "We took it out." The operation reportedly targeted members of a Tren de Aragua gang designated as a narco-terrorist group by the U.S. The strike occurred in international waters and resulted in the deaths of 11 alleged traffickers with no harm to U.S. personnel. Trump emphasized the administration's intensified crackdown on drug cartels and warned of further actions. The Pentagon has yet to release full details of strike or the cargo seized.
We just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago, and our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing. And you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we just, over the last few minutes, literally.
China staged its largest ever military parade in Beijing's Tiananmen Square to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the end of the World War II. The 90-minute spectacle showcased cutting-edge defense technology, including the stealth fighter jets, intercontinental ballistic missiles, drone interceptors, and undersea weaponry. Some revealed publicly for the first time. President Xi Jinping presided over the event, joined by 26 foreign leaders, including Russia's Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. The parade blended solemn wartime remembrance with a bold display of China's growing military powers and geopolitical ambition. Patriotic choirs, banners proclaiming "Justice will prevail," and 80,000 balloons added symbolic weight to the ceremony.
Beijing just held a big military parade. It was for the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, or Victory Day. Now, what are we seeing at this parade? We saw intercontinental ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, military vehicles, fighter jets, bombers, and also new military units, such as the Cyberspace Force. President Xi commemorated victims of World War II in the past. He thanked foreign countries for their participation in the war effort 80 years ago. But he also had a forward-looking message for the here and now. And that is that China is here and China is strong. And I will quote him in the last message to people. He said, "The Chinese people's avenue where Beijing just held a big military parade. It was for the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, or Victory Day." Now, what are we seeing at this parade? We saw intercontinental ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, military vehicles, fighter jets, bombers, and also new military units, such as the Cyberspace Force. President Xi commemorated victims of World War II in the past. He thanked foreign countries for their participation in the war effort 80 years ago. But he also had a forward-looking message for the here and now. And that is that China is here and China is strong. And I will quote him in the last message to people. He said, "The Chinese people's avenue where Beijing..."
Chinese President Xi Jinping delivered a powerful speech at Tiananmen Square on Wednesday ahead of China's largest ever military parade commemorating 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. Flanked by Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, Xi declared that humanity once again faces a choice: peace or war, dialogue or confrontation, win-win cooperation or zero-sum games. He emphasized the need for the nations to treat each other as equals and called for unity to prevent historical tragedies from recurring. The parade showcased advanced military hardware, including stealth jets and hypersonic missiles, underscoring China's growing global influence amid rising geopolitical tensions.
The Chinese people are a people that are not afraid of violence and are self-reliant and strong. Today, humanity once again faces a choice between peace and war, dialogue and confrontation, mutual benefit and zero-sum outcomes. The Chinese people firmly stand on the right side of history and on the side of the progress of human civilization. We will adhere to the path of peaceful development and work hand in hand with people of all countries to build a community with a shared future for mankind. The Chinese people are a people that are not afraid of violence and are self-reliant and strong. Today, humanity once again faces a choice between peace and war, dialogue and confrontation, mutual benefit and zero-sum outcomes. The Chinese people firmly stand on the right side of history and on the side of the progress of human civilization. We will adhere to the path of peaceful development and work hand in hand with people of all countries to build a community with a shared future for mankind.
A catastrophic landslide struck in the village of Tarasin in Sudan's Darfur region on Sunday, killing an estimated 1,000 people and leveling the entire settlement. Triggered by days of relentless rainfall in the March Mountains, the disaster is being described as one of the worst in the country's history. The Sudan Liberation Movement Army, which controls the area, reported that only one person survived in the tragedy. The village, accessible by only foot or donkey, has become a focal point for urgent international aid and appeals. The United Nations and humanitarian partners are mobilizing support, though access remains difficult due to terrain and ongoing civil conflict. Local leaders called the event an unprecedented tragedy and urged global solidarity. In a unified stance, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson firmly opposed President Donald Trump's proposed federal law enforcement intervention in Chicago. Speaking at a joint press conference, both leaders declared the move unwelcome, citing concerns over constitutional overreach and potential for increased tensions in the city. Trump had announced plans to deploy federal agents and possibly National Guard troops to combat crime, despite local resistance. Mayor Johnson signed an executive order reinforcing Chicago's autonomy and rejecting militarized enforcement. Governor Pritzker emphasized that federal involvement was neither requested nor needed, urging residents to remain vigilant and documented any federal activity. The clash highlights deep divisions over federal authority and urban governance.
First, I want to address the president's unhinged remarks a few minutes ago, begging me to call him. No, I will not call the president, asking him to send troops to Chicago. I've made that clear already. On Saturday, the head of the Illinois State Police received a phone call from CBP's Chief Patrol Agent, Gregory Bovino, indicating that ICE would be deploying to Chicago. It's the first outreach we have received from the Trump administration on this topic. Bovino was short on details and long on rhetoric. None of this is about fighting crime or making Chicago safer. None of it. For Trump, it's about testing his power and producing a political drama to cover up for his corruption.
We do not want or need military occupation in our city. We do not want or need militarized immigration enforcement in our city. We have been clear on that, and we will continue to take every single measure that we can to protect our people from these threats.
Following President Donald Trump's announcement of a U.S. military strike on a drug-laden vessel linked to Venezuela's Tren de Aragua's gang, Secretary of State Marco Rubio publicly endorsed the operation, describing it as a lethal strike in the southern Caribbean. Rubio stated that the vessel was operated by a designated narco-terrorist organization and had departed from Venezuela carrying illegal narcotics, likely headed towards Trinidad or other Caribbean nations. Rubio emphasized that the strike is a part of a broader crackdown on transitional criminal networks and reiterated the administration's commitment to combating drug trafficking. His remarks came just before departing for Mexico, underscoring the diplomatic and security dimensions of the operation.
Country in the Caribbean, at which point they just contribute to the instability these countries are facing. So the president's been very clear that he's going to use the full power of America and the full might of the United States to take on and eradicate these drug cartels, no matter where they're operating from and no matter how long they've been able to act with impunity. Those days are over. This is a counter-drug operation. We're going to take on drug cartels wherever they are and wherever they're operating against the interests of the United States. The president's top obligation is to secure the national interest and the national security of our people. I know of no president that means that more than this one, our president now, President Trump. And so, but I'm not going to speculate about what. The president made the announcement and said it was a lethal strike. Suffice it to say that the president is going to be on offense against drug cartels and drug trafficking in the United States. It destabilizes not just the country, but the entire Caribbean basin. These particular drugs were probably headed to Trinidad or some other country in the Caribbean, at which point they just contribute to the instability these countries are facing. So the president's been very clear that he's going to use the full power of America and the full might of the United States to take on and eradicate these drug cartels, no matter where they're operating from and no matter how long they've been able to act with impunity. Those days are over. This is a counter-drug operation. We're going to take on drug cartels wherever they are and wherever they're operating against the interests of the United States. The president's top obligation is to secure the national interest and the national security of our people. I know of no president that means that more than this one, our president now, President Trump. And so, but I'm not going to speculate about what. The president made the announcement and said it was a lethal strike. Suffice it to say that the president is going.
Tensions escalated in Bandung, Indonesia, as police fired tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters near the Islamic University of Bandung, UNISBA, and Pasundan University. The unrest, which began in Jakarta over government spending and expanded nationwide, has now claimed at least 10 lives. Student groups accused security forces of brutally attacking campuses and causing breathing issues and injuries. Authorities say targeted non-student protesters who had sought refuge on university grounds, denying entry into the campuses. President Prabowo Subianto warned that police and military would respond firmly to violence, while rights groups condemned the crackdown as excessive and undemocratic. The protesters were sparked by fatal police vehicle incident and growing economic grievances.
Took shelter in a university building in West Java Monday night as clashes erupted outside. Officers fired tear gas and rubber bullets into crowds, authorities said Tuesday. The first time they've done so at demonstrators on or near university campuses. It's raised further tensions over unrest that has left 10 people dead since last week. The protests began in the capital Jakarta, targeting government spending such as enhanced perks for lawmakers. They escalated into rioting and looting after a police vehicle hit and killed a motorcycle taxi driver. Demonstrators have since spread nationwide. This unrest near the Islamic University of Bandung and Pasundan University is almost 90 miles from the capital. A police official said officers did not enter the two universities' campuses, but instead tried to break up crowds of, quote, non-student protesters around the premises. The UNISBA student body accused security forces of seeking to silence dissent, saying they, quote, brutally attacked the campus. Islamic Student Union head Raviv Tuanku al-Said said one student was critically injured when hit by rubber bullets on his campus.
We remain steadfast in what we are fighting for today, at this very moment, namely our campus at Bandung Islamic University, which is indeed a space for our learning. If there is militarization, or if the military has come to our campus, there will no longer be a safe zone for us to engage in intellectual pursuits.
President Prabowo Subianto warned on Monday that the police and military would stand firm against violent escalations. The United Nations Rights Office.
In a dramatic turn in Thai politics, Boom Jai Thai party leader Anutin Virakul declared he has secured enough parliamentary support to become the next Prime Minister, following the backing from the powerful opposition People's Party. The announcement comes after the Constitutional Court removed Prime Minister Pantong Tarun Shinawatra for ethics violations, triggering a scramble for power. To counter Anutin's rise, the ruling Pheu Thai party petitioned King Maha Vajiralongkorn to dissolve the parliament and call for a snap election, arguing it's the only way to resolve the political impasse and stabilize the economy. Legal experts remain divided on whether a caretaker government can request dissolution, but the king's endorsement would trigger elections within 60 days.
People's Party's proposal.
สนับสนุนตัวกระผมเป็นนายกรัฐมนตรีและจะได้จัดตั้งรัฐบาลตามข้อเสนอของพรรคประชาชน
นายกรัฐมนตรีคนใหม่การจัดเลือกตั้งสมาชิกสภาผู้แทนราษฎรเป็นการทั่วไปพรรคประชาชนยืนยันจะดำรง
The People's Party will remain in the opposition and carry on the work of scrutinizing the work of the new government, and no one from the People's Party will be taking up a position in the cabinet.
และจะไม่มีบุคคลใดจากพรรคประชาชนไปดำรงตำแหน่งในคณะรัฐมนตรี
Form a government based on the People's Party's proposal.
สนับสนุนตัวกระผมเป็นนายกรัฐมนตรีและจะได้จัดตั้งรัฐบาลตามข้อเสนอของพรรคประชาชน
นายกรัฐมนตรีคนใหม่การจัดเลือกตั้งสมาชิกสภาผู้แทนราษฎรเป็นการทั่วไปพรรคประชาชนยืนยันจะดำรง
The People's Party will.
German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul, during his official visit to India, emphasized the strategic weight of India in global affairs, stating, India equals Asia for us and Germany and the European Union in a way are equivalent for India. He acknowledged India's pivotal role in shaping the Indo-Pacific global order while highlighting shared values in democracy and regulatory diligence. Wadephul noted that despite differing political priorities, both nations uphold high standards in governance and market operations. Sometimes we could make it easier for the other side to engage in their respective market. We both have our homework to do, he remarked, signaling a mutual push for smoother trade and investment pathways. The dialogue comes amid efforts to expedite the India-EU Free Trade Agreement, with both sides reaffirming their commitment to deepen strategic, technological and economic cooperation.
You could say, as I've tried to impress earlier, India equals Asia for us, and Germany and the European Union in a way are equivalent for India. It is of immense importance, as has become obvious today during our talks, that India plays a very important part, and though we both have our own political positions and political priorities, but when it comes to democratic principles and regulatory steps, both our countries and both our markets tend to be very diligent.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has accused the United States of mounting an unprecedented military threat, alleging that 8 U.S. warships armed with 1,200 missiles and submarines are targeting Venezuela. He described the deployment as an absolutely criminal, bloody threat and greatest danger in continent has faced it in 100 years. The U.S. has confirmed a naval presence in the South Caribbean as a part of anti-drug trafficking operation, but denies any intent to invade. Maduro warned of full military readiness and vowed to defend Venezuela, while also criticizing the breakdown of diplomatic channels with Washington. White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro has issued a dramatic warning, declaring that the fate of the United States rests with the Supreme Court as it prepares to the rule of legality of President Trump's sweeping tariffs imposed under a 1977 emergency powers law. A lower court recently deemed most of the Trump tariffs illegal, prompting an appeal. Navarro called the case the single most important economic case ever before the court, stressing if the ruling stands, it could dismantle Trump's trade strategy and severely impacting national security and economic stability. The tariffs remain in effect until at least October 14th.
This case is arguably the single most important economic case that has ever come before the Supreme Court. If the lower court's ruling is upheld, President Trump has correctly said that will be the end of the United States. I think we're in very good shape. Bottom line is we're optimistic that the Supreme Court will rule on this. We don't have to, the tariffs will remain in place at least to October and perhaps beyond until the Supreme Court rules on this.
A plane carrying European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen experienced GPS jamming while approaching Plovdiv airport in Bulgaria. EU spokesperson Arana Podesta confirmed the incident, attributing it to suspected Russian interference. The aircraft, a Dassault Falcon 900LX, was forced to rely on manual navigation and paper maps to land safely. Von der Leyen was on a 4-day tour of EU nations bordering Russia and Belarus, aimed at reinforcing European defense and solidarity. Bulgarian authorities reported a disruption of satellite signals and suspect deliberate jamming. The Kremlin denied involvement, but EU officials say the incident underscores growing threats from electronic warfare and urgency of bolstering Europe's defense capabilities.
Did confirm that there was GPS jamming, but the plane landed safely in Bulgaria. We have received information from the Bulgarian authorities that they suspect that this was due to blatant interference by Russia. We are, of course, aware and used to somehow to the threats and intimidations that are a regular component of Russia's hostile behavior. Of course, this will only reinforce even further our unshakable commitment to ramp up defense capabilities, and so we can indeed confirm.
The International Association of Genocide Scholars, IAGS, a leading academic body with 500 members, passed a resolution stating that Israel's actions in Gaza meet the legal definition of genocide under Article 2 of the 1948 UN Genocide Convention. Resolution, backed by 86% of the voting members, cites deliberate attacks on the civilians, starvation, denial of the humanitarian aid, and forced displacement as evidence. It calls on Israel to immediately cease all acts constituting genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Israel has strongly denied accusations, calling them part of the misinformation campaign, while continuing to face a genocide case in the International Court of Justice.
a blanket right to self-defense. So that self-defense has to be carried out in a proportionate manner, and it also has to be shown to be something carried out from military necessity, neither of which are demonstrated anymore by Israel's actions on the ground in Gaza.
That's the end of the World Bulletin. Keep watching CVR News English.